In the last 72 hours, something happened in Jerusalem.
Right now, 5 red heifers are being raised on a secured farm in Israel. Jewish priests are training in secret. The Temple Institute has every tool ready. And according to Daniel chapter 9, none of this can happen until one man brokers a deal that changes everything. But here's what almost everyone gets wrong. The Antichrist isn't the one who leads Israel into the final deception. There's someone else, someone the Bible specifically warns about, and Israel is already preparing to receive him. Most prophecy teachers focus on one figure, the Antichrist, the beast, the man of sin. But Revelation chapter 13 describes 2 beasts, not one, and this second beast might be even more dangerous than the first. Here's why. The first beast rises from the sea. He's political. He commands armies. He makes treaties. He controls economies. But the second beast, he rises from the earth, and the Bible gives him a specific title, the false prophet. Revelation 13 verse 11 says he has 2 horns like a lamb, but speaks like a dragon. Think about that image. He looks like Jesus. He sounds like Satan. He appears religious, gentle, trustworthy, but everything coming out of his mouth is demonic deception. And here's what makes him so effective. He doesn't draw attention to himself. Verse 12 says he makes the earth worship the first beast. He's the ultimate spokesman, the religious authority who convinces the world that the Antichrist is God. Now, most people assume these 2 figures are working together from the start. But what if the false prophet has a specific target audience? What if his entire mission is to deliver one nation into the hands of the beast, Israel? Because here's what nobody talks about. The Antichrist can conquer militarily, he can control economically, but he can't fulfill biblical prophecy without Israel's cooperation. He needs them to accept him willingly, to rebuild the temple, to reinstate sacrifices, to welcome him as their Messiah. And that's where the false prophet comes in. But here's the question that changes everything. Where does this deceiver come from? Because the Bible gives us clues. And when you connect them to what's happening in Israel right now, the picture becomes terrifyingly clear.
Let's talk about what's happening right now in Jerusalem, because this isn't theoretical anymore. The Temple Mount sits there, contested, explosive, waiting. Muslims control it. Jews can visit but can't pray. It's been this way since 1967, but something's shifting. In 2022, red heifers arrived in Israel from Texas. You might think that's random agricultural news. It's not. According to Jewish tradition, the ashes of a pure red heifer are required to ritually purify priests before they can serve in a rebuilt temple. For the first time in 2,000 years, Israel has multiple candidates that meet the requirements. The Temple Institute in Jerusalem isn't playing games. They've reconstructed over 60 temple vessels, priestly garments, golden menorahs, the altar. They've trained Levitical priests. They have architectural plans ready. They're not waiting for some distant future. They're preparing for an opportunity. But here's the problem. That mosque sits right where the temple needs to be. Any attempt to move it triggers World War III. The entire Islamic world would erupt. This isn't something Israel can force militarily. This isn't something they can negotiate through normal channels. They need a miracle worker, someone who can broker the impossible deal. Enter Daniel's prophecy, chapter 9, verse 27. A leader confirms a covenant with many for 1/7. That's 7 years. This isn't just a peace treaty. This is the treaty, the one that somehow gives Israel access to rebuild their temple while keeping regional peace intact. Think about the political capital required. Think about the religious authority needed. Think about the sheer audacity of standing between Islam and Judaism and saying, "I've solved this."
Only someone with extraordinary credibility on multiple fronts could pull this off. European diplomat? No chance. American president? Laughable. It has to be someone the region trusts, someone with religious understanding, someone who grasps what's at stake spiritually. And when that covenant gets signed, when construction begins, when the sacrifices start again after 2 millennia, Israel will believe their redemption has arrived. But the temple is just the beginning of the trap, because what gets built can be desecrated. So where does this figure actually come from? Because geography matters in prophecy more than most people realize. Look at your map. Daniel's visions focus relentlessly on empires that controlled Jerusalem: Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome. Every beast, every kingdom, every prophetic timeline centers on who rules the land of Israel. The final empire? It rises from the same territory as one of these previous powers. And there's one nation sitting at the exact crossroads of biblical history that nobody's paying enough attention to: Turkey. Hear me out. Turkey occupies the heartland of the Byzantine Empire, the eastern continuation of Rome that lasted another 1,000 years after the West fell. Constantinople, modern Istanbul, was the most powerful Christian city on earth before it fell in 1453. That legacy still echoes. But Turkey isn't just historically Christian Roman territory. It's also the bridge between Europe and the Middle East. It's a NATO member with deep Islamic roots. It borders Syria, Iraq, Iran. It has leverage with both Western powers and Middle Eastern nations that no other country possesses. Turkey's current leadership has been rebuilding regional influence aggressively. They've positioned themselves as protectors of Palestinian interests. They've mediated conflicts. They've flexed military muscle in Syria and Libya. They're asserting an almost neo-Ottoman sphere of influence. Now add this layer. Islamic eschatology describes a figure called the Mahdi, a unifier who brings peace before the end times. Some interpretations place his origins in the region Turkey dominates. I'm not saying the Antichrist is the Mahdi, but I am saying a leader could manipulate both Christian and Islamic expectations simultaneously. Imagine someone emerging from this Turkish nexus who can speak to European powers as a NATO ally, negotiate with Arab nations as a regional brother, and present himself to Israel as someone who understands their security needs because he controls the territory surrounding them. Someone who can claim Roman imperial legacy for Christians watching prophecy. Someone who can invoke Islamic end times expectations for Muslim populations. Someone who can promise Israel the security they've never had. 3 different religious audiences, 3 different prophetic frameworks, one man positioned perfectly to deceive them all. And here's what makes this terrifying. He doesn't need to fulfill every detail of every tradition. He just needs enough credentials to make each group think he's their answer. 3 credentials, one man, total deception.
Stop and think about what we've just laid out, because this is where it all comes together in a way that should make your blood run cold. You've got the Jewish connection, possibly Danite lineage, definitely Torah educated, able to quote scripture and command religious respect in Israel. That's credential number 1. You've got the Middle Eastern positioning, someone from the geographic epicenter of biblical prophecy, someone who understands regional politics, someone both East and West can negotiate with. That's credential number 2. You've got the religious authority, someone who can present himself as the fulfillment of multiple prophetic expectations across different faiths without fully committing to any single interpretation. That's credential 3. Now imagine these aren't 3 different people. Imagine this is one figure who checks every single box. A Jewish descendant from the Middle East with political power in a strategically positioned nation. Someone who can walk into the Knesset and be taken seriously. Someone who can sit across from Arab leaders and be trusted. Someone who can negotiate with European powers and be respected. This isn't fantasy. This is exactly the kind of leader the current geopolitical situation is screaming for. Israel is exhausted. Decades of conflict, constant security threats, economic costs of perpetual military readiness, international pressure. They want peace so badly they can taste it, but they won't accept peace at any cost. They need security guarantees, regional normalization, and access to their holy sites. The Abraham Accords showed this is possible. Bahrain, UAE, Morocco, Arab nations normalizing relations with Israel. But the big prizes remain out of reach. Saudi Arabia wavers, Turkey holds back, Iran looms, and that temple still can't be built. Enter someone who can close these gaps, someone with the credibility to bring holdout nations to the table, someone with the religious sophistication to navigate the temple crisis, someone with the political savvy to structure a deal that gives everyone something they want. When he confirms that 7-year covenant, it won't feel like prophecy fulfilling. It'll feel like salvation arriving. Finally, the breakthrough. Finally, the leader who gets it. Finally, peace. Israeli mothers will weep with relief that their sons might not have to serve in the military under constant threat. Religious Jews will celebrate that temple worship can resume after 2,000 years. Politicians will claim vindication that their strategy worked. And nobody will see what's coming at the 3.5-year mark. But when he reveals his true nature, when he walks into that temple and declares himself God, the trap will have already snapped shut. 3.5 years into the peace covenant, something breaks. Daniel calls it the Abomination of Desolation. Jesus references it explicitly in Matthew 24 and tells his followers that when they see this happen, run. Don't pack, don't hesitate. Flee to the mountains immediately, because what follows will be the worst tribulation in human history. So what is it? Paul gives us the clearest picture in 2 Thessalonians. The man of lawlessness will oppose and exalt himself above everything called God or worshipped. He'll sit in God's temple and proclaim himself to be God. Read that again. He sits in the temple, not a metaphorical temple, not a spiritual temple, the actual rebuilt temple in Jerusalem that he helped make possible. And he declares himself deity. This isn't a political speech. This isn't a power grab. This is a religious coronation of blasphemy. The false prophet orchestrates the ultimate desecration, transforming the holiest site in Judaism into the throne room of the Antichrist. We've seen the shadow of this before. In 163 BC, Antiochus Epiphanes marched into the temple, sacrificed a pig on the altar, and set up a statue of Zeus. It was called the Abomination of Desolation then, too. The Maccabees revolted. Jews still celebrate that victory at Hanukkah. But this coming abomination will be worse, because Antiochus was an outside oppressor everyone recognized as evil. This figure will be the trusted peacemaker, the one who made the temple possible, the one Israel welcomed, celebrated, covenanted with. The betrayal won't just be political, it'll be spiritual devastation. Everything they hoped for, inverted. The temple they rebuilt, desecrated. The peace they achieved, shattered. The leader they trusted, revealed as the ultimate deceiver. Jesus says what follows is tribulation unlike anything the world has ever seen or will ever see again. He says if those days weren't cut short, no flesh would survive. That's not hyperbole, that's prophecy. And here's what makes it even more chilling. Most of Israel won't see it coming. Most will defend him right up until the moment he sits in that temple. And that's when the unthinkable happens. That's when the mask comes off completely.
You want to know what's terrifying? We're watching the stage get set in real time. Israel's political landscape right now is the most religiously conservative it's ever been. The current coalition includes parties that explicitly advocate for Jewish prayer on the Temple Mount. They're not fringe voices anymore. They're in government. Ministers publicly discuss temple rebuilding not as theology, but as policy goals. The Temple Institute isn't slowing down, they're accelerating. Those red heifers, they're being raised under strict rabbinical supervision. Priests are being trained. The infrastructure for resuming ancient sacrifices is being systematically reconstructed. This isn't preparation for some distant messianic age. This is preparation for the first opportunity that presents itself. International peace deals keep almost happening. The Abraham Accords normalized relations with multiple Arab states in 2020. Saudi Arabia has been in quiet negotiations. The framework for a regional peace structure is forming. All it needs is the right crisis or the right leader to push it over the finish line. Turkey's regional influence continues expanding. They've positioned themselves as the defender of Palestinian interests while maintaining ties with Israel when convenient. They're the power broker nobody's watching closely enough. When a Middle Eastern peace deal needs a guarantor that both sides can work with, Turkey's positioning becomes critical. The religious Zionist movement inside Israel is more powerful than it's been in modern history. They're not waiting passively for God to act. They're actively working to create conditions for prophecy fulfillment. Temple activism, settlement expansion, pushing boundaries on the Temple Mount. This isn't fringe theology anymore. It's mainstream religious nationalism. Watch the global response to any violence near the Temple Mount. The whole world holds its breath. The UN convenes emergency sessions. Regional powers issue threats. Everyone understands that site is the tripwire for global catastrophe, which means everyone understands that whoever can diffuse that tension, whoever can broker access while maintaining peace, becomes the most important diplomat on Earth. The convergence isn't coming. It's here. The religious preparation, the geopolitical alignments, the desperate hunger for peace, the temple movement, the regional power structures, all of it is in place. We're not watching random current events. We're watching prophetic preparation. The pieces are moving into position. The crisis that demands this leader's solution could happen tomorrow or next year, but the stage is set. The stage is set, but most don't see it. They see politics and religion and regional conflicts as separate spheres. They don't see the pattern forming. Here's what should concern you most. The spirit of Antichrist isn't waiting for the tribulation to start. It's already here. 1 John chapter 4 warns that the spirit of Antichrist is in the world now, not coming, present tense, operating, preparing hearts and minds for the final deception. Look at what's happening in churches. Prophecy is being dismissed as irrelevant. Israel is being reframed as the villain. The idea that God still has plans for the Jewish people gets labeled as outdated theology. Pastors who teach about the Antichrist and tribulation are mocked as sensationalists. This isn't accidental. This is preparation. Because when the false prophet emerges with his perfect credentials and his miraculous peace deal, most Christians won't recognize him. They've been conditioned to not look for him. The deception will be so effective that false religious leaders will endorse him. They'll call him a peacemaker, a unifier, maybe even a man of God. They'll point to the results, the peace, the prosperity, the temple. How could this be evil when it produces such obvious good? Jesus warned that false Christs and false prophets would arise and deceive even the elect if that were possible. Even believers with genuine faith will be targets of this deception. It won't look obviously evil. It'll look like answered prayer. The peace and safety trap is already being set. The world is so exhausted by conflict, so hungry for stability, that anyone who delivers it will be celebrated regardless of the cost. Critical thinking gets suspended. Prophetic warnings get ignored. The desire for relief overrides discernment. And here's the question that should keep you awake tonight. If the Spirit is already operating, if the deception is already beginning, if the stage is already set, so how do you prepare for what's coming? The false prophet won't announce himself. He'll be celebrated as the solution. Jewish enough to command religious authority, positioned geographically where prophecy demands, politically connected enough to broker the impossible, and he'll make that temple possible. Israel will trust him because he'll give them everything they've wanted for 2,000 years. The world will trust him because he'll deliver peace when everyone said it was impossible. And in that temple, at that moment, when he sits down and declares himself God, the biggest question won't be about his identity anymore. It'll be whether you saw it coming. Because right now, while everyone's debating where he'll come from and what signs to watch for, the actual mechanism of deception,